Hello, I'm Carl, and this is Pro Cycles Tech Talk. Today we're going to review the different types of fuel petcocks there is, and diaphragm style with the vacuum or the gravity feed style that doesn't need the vacuum, how to install them, how to repair them when needed. First, we're going to take a look at a vacuum style petcock. This is usually what's standard on most motorcycles around today, and we'll take a look at what we've got one here, a good replacement. Should you want to get a replacement, we have it right here. And what it is the petcock obviously has prime, which is straight flow, it has reserve, and it has on. And the big difference between a vacuum petcock and a gravity feed petcock is we have the fuel outlet line, but it also has a vacuum line that attaches with a tube somewhere to the front of your carburetor. So the motor starts, the vacuum opens up, creates the suction, opens up the diaphragm in the back, allows the fuel to flow. We're going to take a look at a petcock we have here that we're going to open one up and see what it takes to replace it. When you work on your bikes, you should have like a nice cafeteria tray. You can find these at thrift stores. Get it, it keeps all the hardware, all the little parts in place so they don't roll off the edge of the workbench and you lose them on your floor forever. And also, when you take apart a vacuum petcock and you're using your JIS screwdriver and you take out the 4 screws on the back, hold on to it because there's a spring inside that holds the diaphragm in place, and if you suddenly take it off, the spring goes shooting across the shop floor. So we'll take off the backing plate, and we take off the little tiny spring, and then we've got the diaphragm unit itself in there. Now the diaphragm unit has a shallow end and a tall end, and you want to remember which end goes into the carb body. It's always the tall end goes in first. Just remember, however it came out of your carburetor, that's how it has to go back in. Now the big tight detail of repairing these is the little diaphragm itself that's inside, and it moves back and forth as the vacuum allows, but they come to you in a rebuild kit and they have a little piece of cardboard around them, and you have to take them out, take it apart, and you'll notice that there's 2 diaphragm sheets in there. And what you got to do is when you take these apart is you take out the old one, you just pull it out the shallow side, one side's bigger than the other, and when you put it back in, you kind of have to scrunch up all the little diaphragm rubber piece, the diaphragm itself. You scrunch it up, as I'm doing here, and you get it back through the diaphragm plate hole. Little tedious details here, I'll get it. And you get it through the hole carefully, you don't want to rip it. And as you pull it all the way through, you'll see that, there we go, we now have it in place. Simple enough to do. That's the big detail of that. We obviously replace that back into the carb body as it's needed. And then you've got, of course, for the mounting surface, you got a new O-ring inside here on the other side of the faceplate. There's an O-ring that goes in there as well. That also has a light spring that holds it in place. And then you'll have this O-ring, which goes in here also. So you have 3 O-rings to replace, 1 diaphragm piece that's 2 pieces. Like I said, you got to be careful when you take all this apart and put it back together. That's the simple part. When you have gravity feed petcocks are real straightforward. There's no vacuum line needed at all. It's just the fuel outlet, and you have on, off, and reserve. So you could select what to do when you're riding. You're going to park for a day or two. Always turn the fuel to off, get it in the off position so fuel pressure or anything doesn't force its way past the floats, flood your engine. You know, if you're gonna, like I said, be parked for greater 3 or 4 days, make sure you turn that off. And of course it has on as needed, and then it has reserve as needed. Real simple to operate. So as always, thank you for watching, and don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel and newsletter. And remember, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. As always, your adventure begins here.